Welcome to Only the Greatest Podcast, where we explore the vital connection between fitness and success in all areas of life. We are your hosts, Daryl,
Philip,
Sean,
and our goal is to help you become the greatest version of yourself.
Only the Greatest Podcast is brought to you by OTG Fitness. OTG Fitness is our private personal training gym on the south side of Houston in Webster, Texas. You can learn more about OTG Fitness by visiting otgfitness.com or searching OTG Fitness on any social media platform.
if you happen to find any value in this show, all we ask is that you leave a quick review and mention specifically what helped you out. If you're listening in on YouTube, be sure to like, subscribe, and share with anyone you think may need to hear this.
We're just a couple of guys here that found life-changing benefits from fitness, and we want to share that with the world. So every single like, mention, and review really does help us out so much. Help us grow the show and everything OTG is about by sharing with somebody today.
I'm too used to the old way. That's what threw me off. That's why I felt like I was reading that, but
maybe you should try wearing sunglasses.
So listen, guys, the viewership on YouTube has not been growing the way we want it to. And I figure if I change the look up a little bit, there's somebody out there that's like, oh, this guy's got sunglasses on. I'm gonna listen to him.
you're a new guy.
I'm a new guy.
Actually, we have a new person on.
Yeah. My name is Carol. Not Daryl.
My boy, Barrel.
Barrel. Yeah.
Barrel's
Barrel.
here.
Yeah.
Barrel. I like Barrel.
Laryl Dared. That's my name.
Man.
All right, y'all. Let's get down to business here. We got another short banger for y'all. I really like the kind of like this change up of the flow we've done on these. Of course, I listen to the shows when they come out while I'm driving and stuff. And generally, of course, I like the way we sound. But these like 25 to 40 minute bangers of like, hey, this is an issue. This is how we figure it out. I like it. And I think that the style works for the message that we're trying to send.
Yeah, just trying to bring some value to somebody. Yeah. Even when I listen back myself, I'm like, whoa.
Oh, yeah.
It's good.
Yeah. So today we're talking about overcoming setbacks, the Phil original idea. And all of us kind of, whenever he said it, it was one of those times where we're like, oh yeah, and this, oh yeah, and that. And so we're going to talk about if we have setbacks, how do we overcome them?
Right.
And a setback of any kind is basically any goal that you're pursuing and something happens that either deters you or literally sets you back from sets back your progress that you've made. What do we do to get back on track and to control that? Yeah.
And obviously we're talking about from a fitness perspective, but honestly, at the end of the day, as I was looking back through our notes, these really apply to anything.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't say it right. Yeah. So of course we're talking about from a fitness standpoint, being in the gym and everything, but it's applicable.
That's right. What a good word.
Yeah. Applicable.
Or is it applicable?
Applicable? Or, that's what I always ask you, because I don't know when I don't know. I'll ask.
No, that was a $100 word right there.
Is it applicable or applicable?
I say applicable.
Y'all mention in the comments below. So tell me if it's applicable. The problem is they're both spelled the same.
Yeah,
applicable.
So overcoming setbacks. First and foremost, this one is for me. Is whenever I have a setback. And I realized first step is realizing that you're in the middle of this setback and there's something that's diverting you. There's something that's hindering your progress, whatever it is. What I do is I call it controlling the controllables. So, and Sean had a good point earlier. There's a lot of anxiety, especially whenever you have a setback. There's a lot of anxiety around feeling like you're not in control of what's going on. And a lot of time that may be true. You may not actually be in control of certain things, but there are some constants, especially in everybody's life, but especially me, that I know I can control. And there's a handful of them. I'll name off what I look at. Am I controlling what I eat? What food is going in? Is it junk? Am I letting some junk slide in there? I'm eating some good stuff. Am I controlling my water intake? Am I only having half a gallon a day when I told myself I'd be a gallon? Am I drinking too much caffeine, coffee, whatever it is? Am I controlling that intake? Am I controlling my training? Am I going to the gym? Am I working out hard while I'm there, putting the time in? Because whenever you leave the gym, if you gave it everything you had or not. Other people ain't going to know, but you'll know in your head. And unfortunately, in my life, probably more times I've left the gym going, man, I didn't give it everything I had. Those days are in the past, though. So am I controlling my output, physical output? And then they're almost the same, but a little different. There's two more. Controlling the content that I'm putting into my brain.
That's a good one.
That I'm consuming.
Yeah, the food your brain eats pretty much.
Yeah. Am I scrolling mindless Instagram reels that are about stuff that doesn't matter? Am I watching anything that's negative or not useful to what I want to do? Consuming that content, reading anything that's not conducive to what I'm trying to do? Or am I reading a good book? Is my screen time down? Make sure I'm taking action more than I'm sitting around, screwing around on my phone.
Yeah.
That's definitely a strategy that I've used for myself as well. Yeah. If there's something that I know is going wrong, usually for me, it's going to be diet, right? Let's just be honest about the situation. But what I'll do is for maybe a couple of days, everything I consume will all be about that. Yep. All of my, like a lot of times I listen to like investment podcasts or business or sometimes weight stuff. No, it'll all change to that one thing. Yep. All the YouTube videos, I watch one thing. I'll get a book, change to one thing. Consumption will all change to that one thing. Yep. And that really just kind of helps reset the mind.
Yeah, it kind of dials you in because there's so much that we watch now. It's like you kind of lose focus. You know, it's just,
I'm not saying don't ever watch anything funny or entertaining.
This is in an emergency situation.
Yeah, I watch a Matt Rife skit every now and then. I think they're hilarious.
Yeah, there you go.
And it's great. It's like, it's mindless. It's good. It's good humor.
Yeah, good old Billy Burr here and there.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I enjoy them. But like at the end of the day, am I listening to a podcast about investing or about fitness or something that I'm trying to do, real estate? Or am I listening to a murder mystery podcast or something, right?
You like those?
And no, well, yeah, I like murder mystery shows.
Okay.
And I've tried to get into the podcast, but it doesn't really work as well.
I haven't listened to one yet. I kind of want to. I feel like I would dig it.
And like, there's nothing wrong with those things.
Yeah.
But am I supplementing with something good, or is it all? Yeah. Am I watching SpongeBob 24 hours a day, or am I splitting it with my real estate podcast and watching SpongeBob 12 hours a day?
Right. Yeah, because it happens. It slips in there and it becomes too much over time.
Starts to bleed in there and it starts to overtake your productive content you're consuming. And like I said before I went on this whole rant, is it kind of goes hand in hand with how you're spending your time. Am I controlling what I'm doing and when I'm doing it? Where am I? I look at my time like a bank account. There's only so much of it. Am I divvying it up properly? Is the right amount of hours going to meal prepping, to work, to marriage, to fit to my workout? Coming here for the podcast. Am I divvying it up properly to make sure that I'm splayed evenly? And when I control those 5 things, 5 things, that helps me build momentum, feel confident in myself. That anxiety Sean mentioned reduces because I feel like I'm in more control. My confidence is higher. I start to feel like I'm getting some small wins and the momentum builds. And next thing you know, the setbacks.
I was hoping you were going to cover the time thing, because when you mentioned, a lot of people don't think of that, controlling how their actions lead into non-control or lack of control of their schedule at that point. Because
that's a big one
for sure. Because a lot of times time is everybody's issue, right? Because there's a limited number, a limited amount of it. It's very finite. Yep. But if we're all honest with ourselves and we look back like, well, what could I have done yesterday to keep my schedule from getting out of control today? That is taking control of your time.
Yeah.
And so often we don't.
Evaluating, taking an inventory, make sure, are you allotting it properly? And that's probably one of the biggest. All of them are very important.
I would have mentioned that one first.
All of those 5 are very important, but am I taking an inventory of my time How much time do I have versus where is it going
Yeah.
and where should it be going?
Yeah,
Right.
and that's definitely the first thing that people, you know, mention when you try to tell them to get into anything. Like when it's like
yeah,
down
all
to
the time.
something like you were talking about moderating that time correctly, and then it's like, hey man, have you started that project? Nah, man, I just haven't had the time. It's the first thing they talk about.
I love when people say that and they don't even put any thought towards it.
Yeah.
It's just like
instantly.
they just automatically say it instead of taking the time. And someone that's very important in my life taught me this. I won't say any names, but
It was me, huh? Very important in your life. Taught you this.
Daryl, very important in my life, but he's not the one that taught me this.
But wait, Beryl or Daryl? Which one?
Laryl Dare.
Daryl.
Neither Laryl, Beryl, Daryl,
or Carol.
Helped out with this, but there was somebody very important in my life that I looked up to very much. And no matter what question you ask this person, Daryl will know who I'm talking about. Or he may or may not, but he'll know later when I tell him. No matter what question, as simple or as complicated, he always took time to think about it before answering the question.
Yeah.
Always, no matter what. And
he took a breath, took a step back.
Yep.
Could have been a yes or no.
it could, yeah, very.
And he was like, hold on.
Yep.
Think about this for a minute.
Mhm.
No.
Always.
Yeah.
Every single time. And there's really something to be said for that, because so often, no matter what, people just immediately answer with whether it's legit excuse or whatever, but you just automatically say, I don't have time. Well, did you even think about it?
Yeah.
And a lot of times they don't.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So that's control the controllables. That's step number one. I think it's the most vital. The anxiety goes down, the momentum builds, the small wins start to build. And then you can start progressing towards your goal before, as you were before that setback happened.
Yeah.
And so control them, guys. Those 5 things, and you'll be all right. So Phil, you got a good one. I'll let you take it away here.
Yeah. The next thing that we want to think about here is looking back at your goals, you know, because everybody, when you first get started, you have some goals, or even if you're many years into this journey, you have some goals, right? So when you hit a setback, well, it's just one small thing. Think back about why you got started.
Yeah.
And then that should kind of remotivate, you know, this is just a very small step in the whole thing. You know, this one little setback, you have your whole life of goals. Think back about why you started. Does this one setback, is it really enough to keep you from moving forward?
Yeah.
In the big picture of things. Yeah. And then while you're doing that, also make sure that your goals are somewhat realistic as well.
Is this setback more powerful than the reason you started?
Right.
And the answer is likely no.
No way.
So, oh man, I'm having this slight problem. I've been pursuing this goal for 5 years. I have this little problem. Is that more powerful? Is it powerful enough to make you quit when you think back on why you started and how you felt during that time?
And what you started for too.
Yeah. Why? That's why. Why did you start, and how did you feel whenever you did start? What was your mindset like? You probably were like, I'm doing this thing.
No matter what.
I'm doing this thing. And at that time, if you would have said, well, hey, what if you had this little setback? You'd have been like, don't care. I'm going to blow right through it.
Yeah.
I'll eat that setback and keep going. And whenever you think about that, how crunk you were, that's showing my age here.
I like that. How crunk you were.
How crunk you were in your head, like, oh yeah.
But in that moment in time, like you're not.
You're pretty
that.
crunk. Yeah, you're pretty
crunk.
crunk.
Well, at that time you are. Yeah. But I'm saying when you hit this setback,
You got to bring back the crunk.
that's right.
You gotta get re-crunk. That's number 2. Get re-crunk.
Get re-crunk.
So man, I think that one's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I mean, it really is just about remembering. And honestly, the next one that we're going to talk about really kind of goes hand in hand. And that's just remember the long game.
Yep.
This whole thing, something that I like to I just thought, I've said this over the years in many different ways, but as I was putting together like our agenda for today, I kind of came up with this. And so something I'm going to start remembering and keeping in mind is fitness isn't everything, right? But it does help us in everything else.
Sure.
So it guides us. You know, we've talked about how fitness is so related to life and to business and to success and different things. So just remember that fitness in itself is not the most important thing in the world. You have family, maybe you have kids,
relationships,
you have relationships,
job,
you have,
or something,
you have a career,
business owner.
All these things are, if we're going to be honest, more important than getting to the gym today or hitting a PR on bench press or whatever. whatever it is. It's not necessarily more important than your health, right? Is what we're talking about in general. But a lot of times when we're talking about setbacks, we're talking about one little thing, not the overall thing. So what we're trying to, make everyone realize here is that remember the big picture.
Sure.
And the big picture of this is that fitness isn't everything, but just always keep in mind too, that it will help you in everything else.
Sure.
True.
Right.
It'll help build the momentum in all other areas. I know when my fitness is not on point, I've said this 100 times on the show, everything else tends to it bleeds into everything else where I become mediocre in all areas. And I got to reevaluate, start controlling the controllables. And when I do that, one of the number one things, time, my fitness, my diet. And when I lock those back in, the momentum starts to build. And that's that's the only way I know how to describe it is it helps me in all areas.
Yeah. You always say it bleeds.
Yeah, it bleeds. Yeah. That's what I meant. Like the only way I know how to say it is it starts to bleed into everything else.
Right.
And it bleeds both ways, whether I'm nailing it or I'm shit, right? It bleeds.
Yeah. And when you're in one of these things where it's bleeding in a negative way, just assess, control the controllables. And by knowing that if I can turn this around, if I can turn this one little thing around, fitness, then everything else will turn around also.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to say
here,
here,
will
right?
start to fall in order.
Yeah, that's like what I was saying earlier when we were talking about like, you wake up and you're kind of at that like upper level already. Yeah. You're already at like 30 or 40% just because like last night you went to the gym and made sure you got everything done, trained with intensity, did your cardio, drank your water and ate right. And then the next day you wake up and it's like, man, I don't feel like I didn't go to the gym and ate Whataburger all day. Yeah. You kind of feel like shit just physically and mentally a little bit.
It's the checklist method, which is where you make your checklist in the morning, you knock it all off, and then you sleep good. You wake up the next day feeling good.
Yeah. And it makes you want to stack the wins.
That's right.
It motivates you, man. I got 3 days of perfect not perfect, but I got 3 days of checking my boxes. I'm not going to fuck up today or tomorrow or the next, like I'm going to roll. Yeah. I'm 28 days in a row, or whatever it is. I'm nailing it. And the longer that you go, the more minor the setbacks become, right?
That's right.
And it motivates me when I'm like, dude, I've been flawless all week. I ain't messing up.
My fitness tracker has a streak on there. So it's like, as long as you're tracking consistently and making sure you don't always have to hit your goals. Just make sure you're tracking just something consistently. It'll let you know. It'll be like, hooray.
Yeah. Because you're stacking those wins.
And I'm like, it kind of gamifies it a little bit. And it's like, man, I'm tracking today. Man, what did I do yesterday? Man, this whole week I've been hitting my protein goals. Holy shit. Good thing I'm staying on top of it, and it kind of helps.
Yeah. So. And on that same note, as we kind of move on here, we have to remember that if you're not, be honest with yourself.
Sure.
And say, hey, I'm hitting this setback because I didn't do X, Y, Z. And that's fine. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with messing up.
Self-awareness, man.
Yeah. Very important. What is wrong though? And so we have to mention this. What is very important to cover, and don't do this, don't ignore it and pretend like you did do everything and justify the things you messed up on and still pretend like you don't understand what's going wrong.
That'll, whenever you lie to yourself about it, I think that'll kill your momentum even more. And I've been there before.
Oh, we all have. That's why we're talking about
it. It's like, that self-repitation thing. It just kind of goes lower.
What is your reputation like with yourself?
Exactly.
The more times you do that, the worse your reputation gets. You know in your head that you have a reputation of lying to yourself. And you wouldn't go hang out with a friend that lied to you all the time if you knew it. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And so
that's a really good
how do you feel about yourself? You're lying to yourself. You have that reputation. You don't even want to hang out with you. You don't believe yourself. You know that you're not going to go to the gym even when you say you are. You're not going to give 110%. You're going to meal prep, blah, 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 blah. The list goes on and on and on. Yeah. And you have that reputation with yourself.
And that kind of reminds me of people.
Lived that.
That kind of reminds me of people that, ever met that guy or that friend, that girl, whoever that's always telling you every time you see him, you've been going to the gym a little bit, been lifting or running. And then they're like, man, I need to lose 10 pounds. And it's like, I feel like you've been telling me you need to lose 10 pounds for a long ass time. Like,
I've been that guy.
And it's just like, if they take the accountability, it's like, man, if you would have did it back when you told me, like, a month ago, a year ago, then you would have been way past 10 pounds and probably on to something totally different. It's just like, take that accountability though.
When you said that, I mean, I've never thought about it that way before.
You wouldn't want to hang out with someone that's like that?
Because everybody knows somebody, and just like Sean said, but let's not even talk about it from a fitness perspective here. Let's talk about it just in general. Everybody knows that somebody that when they text you or whatever to make plans, you're like,
ain't happening.
You know it's not happening.
Oh my God.
You know.
Oh my God.
Right? Everybody has someone like this in their life. Don't be that person to yourself.
Yeah, don't be that person to yourself.
Oh my goodness. Sure. I've just never thought about it that way.
Yep, don't be that person to yourself.
Yeah, don't be that person to yourself.
Self-awareness, take an inventory of your reputation, or take a look at your reputation with yourself. And that's a good sign.
Man, I learn something every time we do this.
Such a good show. Well,
I hope that everyone that listens to it learns something every time they listen.
Me too.
Yeah,
and I hope that the viewers watch, because I'm wearing my sunglasses indoors and I look cool.
I'm kind of digging it, man. I think next episode we should all just be like shades up.
Yeah, for sure. If you're listening to this on on Apple or Spotify or something like that, make sure you check it out on YouTube.
Because these shades,
check out these shades.
Because
I got these on the side of the road in Idaho. I lost my Oakleys in Lake Coeur d'Alene.
Those are sick.
And
like a shop on the side of the road.
Yeah, like a stand, I
thought you found them.
No. There was like they were having some type of festival art. I think it was I don't even remember.
Obviously, it was artistic.
There was a bunch of little shops,
the sunglass
roadside
festival.
shops, and you could like pull up, park, walk up, and you could kind of walk back and forth. And one of the little roadside shops was selling them. I think they were like $19 or something. But anyway, that's where I got these.
That's a sick way to spend $19.
Yeah, $19. Needed some shades, and here we go. So guys, control the controllables. Work on your reputation with yourself, and
remember why you started.
And remember why you started, not necessarily in any particular order. And you can overcome a setback in anything in your life.
Always,
your fitness journey.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
Just remember that fitness is a part of your life.
Sure.
It's not your entire life, right?
Exactly.
And it's a part of your life that will improve the other areas.
Sure.
So just because you mess up a little bit in this one thing, don't let that bleed into negativity in other parts of your life. Get back on track. Remember why you started. Keep trucking forward and let it bleed positively across all the different areas of your life.
Yeah. And think about this. I'm going to leave you with this one last thought before we close this baby out. If you're looking at your setback versus your goal, and you're thinking, oh, well, this set me back at least, I'm going to make up some time. 4 months, right? 6 months. That's fine. That 6 months is going to pass whether you get back on track or not. Time doesn't care how you feel. Time doesn't care if you had a setback. That 6 months is still going to come in 6 months. So are you going to spend that 6 months working or thinking about how you should have started working? And that's all I got.
I'm not even going to say anything else.
Damn, I did have that was powerful. No, I have a quote though that I heard earlier today. I was listening to another podcast, and it was don't make lifetime decisions off of temporary feelings. So like if something small happens, right now, don't just like, it's like, oh man, I got to the gym and I'm not wearing my gym shoes or whatever. I'm just going to go home and just done with the gym for today, tonight, or whatever, and or something even more major, it's like, oh man, I don't know. I mean, this is pretty dark, but you lost a loved one. I'm going to quit my career. And then you totally throw it out the window. It's just like, man, don't, it's a temporary feeling. So
right. Yeah.
Even though it's hard, just like, a lot of other things, it's like, man, don't let that totally just oust everything else that you
think the self-awareness that Daryl mentioned earlier is pretty much what is another way of what you're saying. But I like Sean's example, even though it was kind of, a long one to see. No, and that's fine. I think it's a good example.
I went from leaving gym shoes at home to like going,
but it's a good example because you have to be strong in the moment. Like, and to prove to yourself it's temporary. Did I feel this way about this situation 2 weeks ago? If the answer is no, it's a temporary.
Will I feel this way in a year? Will I feel this way in 6 months?
Right.
I look at some of the stuff I worried about. I'm 31 now. I look at some of the stuff I worried about from teenage years to mid 20s. Bro, so stupid. Like now it wouldn't even register on my radar of a problem now.
It's crazy what some time will do to a situation.
Yeah, if that happened right now, like it wouldn't be on the damn Richter scale at all. It would I would just keep going. Like it never even touched me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's kind of crazy.
The time's going to pass anyway, y'all. Control the controllables, get after it. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, and always listen in. And that's all we got for today.
All right. I think that's everything. I'll see y'all later.
Whoa. Sunglasses and the double guns. Wow.
Idaho side of the road, sunglasses, double guns.